Alright, what's going on everyone? Captain here back with another Marvel Contest of Champions video. Today we've got a breakdown of one of my new most favorite characters to play with in the game, and yes, that is Silver Centurion. I've alluded to it in a couple videos and live streams in recent weeks, and so now we are finally doing this video. And you're probably clicking on this video, seeing that thumbnail, thinking like, oh my gosh, Captain, that is the most clickbait thing ever. There's no way this guy is as good as Archangel, or let alone the tech version of Archangel. Well, I'll admit there is some slight, clickbaitiness going into that, but hopefully by the end of this video you will see what I mean by that he is a tech version of Archangel. And the way that you play him, you're converting one buff and another buff into another totally completely different one that makes you do a lot more damage. You don't get the ability reduction that you get with Archangel, but you do get some other benefits from it. But the playstyle of it feels very Archangel-esque. So that is my reasoning for saying that he is the tech version of Archangel. Don't take this as I'm saying like, oh, you can use this guy or Archangel and they'll do the same thing. That's not what I'm saying. Just that they have a same kind of concept idea, which once we get into the breakdown, hopefully you guys will understand that. But before we do that, let's kind of talk about some general things about Silver Centurion. And what would one of my videos be without River coming in and interrupting me in the middle of a video? Hi River. Welcome back once again for making your daily appearance. So for those of you who may be watching this video months down the road from when this comes out or releases, whatever, Silver Centurion is a character that came out in April of 2021, and I'm recording this video as of September of 2021. So that is where all this information, if there's any buffs that happen in the future or nerfs or whatever, that's not to be taken into consideration for this video. And River is getting here right in my face. Hi. So like most of you, when this character first came out, I kind of brushed him off as just another prestige champion that doesn't really do much. He's kind of got some cool debuffs, but not really anything that's crazy. And as you can see by the prestiges, he is a top 10 prestige, sitting here right at number 10 actually. So soon, most likely as new characters get added, he'll drop down. But for the time being, he is a good option for prestige. And that is one of the reasons why I took mine up, but also because I fell in love with this character and his abilities and what he can do, and I'll get more into that later. So there's the prestige point about taking this character up, but also another reason why this character is good for Sig Stones, other than just getting that prestige, is his awakened ability. So his awakened ability increases the duration of shock and plasma debuffs, and they also become passive debuffs they become passives instead of regular debuffs. So for any nodes that would remove debuffs, now they do not get removed because they are passive ones. Now this kind of works against you in terms of fights like diss track, or nodes that have diss track on them, because now you can't take advantage of those actual debuffs. They're now passives, but it benefits you in a lot of other different ways. But the part of this ability, the signature ability that I think is super crucial, is the second part. While locked on, block proficiency is increased to 2402.17. So that's over 2000 block proficiency, and I'm only at Sig 160. So if I go ahead, pull this window back up again, hop over to Aunt May and pull him up, you can see right here for block proficiency, at max Sig, he is at 3,823, which puts him in the 41 percentile of characters, Red Skull being the highest at over 8,000. Well, with his awakened ability, you can see here at Sig 1, you only get an additional 271 block proficiency. If you bump that up to all the way to Sig 200, you get an additional 3,200, nearly doubling his block proficiency, putting him only 1,000 points behind Red Skull, which also it puts him above Captain America, also one of the best block proficiency champions in the game. So while he is locked on, he becomes extremely tanky, and it is pretty easy to keep him locked on. Again, once we get into the breakdown, I'll explain how to stay in that locked on mode. Just know you have to stay pretty aggressive with this character in order to constantly keep up locked on, but it's not unbearable. It's very manageable, and we'll get to that. So yeah, that is something, once I saw that, I'm like, wow. So his block proficiency jumps to over 7,000. Then if you bring along a synergy like the Guardian synergy, you're getting an additional 1,000. So now that bumps him up to over 8,000, which I think I calculated it. It's actually going to be just above Red Skull. So he then becomes the best, or maybe it's right behind Red Skull. I think it might be just below Red Skull. I think it's below him by like 20 points or something. Either way, nearly becomes the most block proficiency, like the best block proficiency champion in the game while he is locked on, which allows you to take a lot more hits into your block. So that is something I thought was super interesting to note and wanted to make sure to highlight in this breakdown. So now that we've broken down his Awakened ability, which to me, this character definitely benefits immensely from being awakened and a high sig, because one, you get the longer duration on those passive debuffs, as well as the locked on block proficiency makes him super useful. Without that Awakened ability, he still can be used, like I said, for things like Distract. Then you can still use him pretty reliably for that node, I would say, but you are missing out on a lot of block proficiency. But instead of going through and reading all of this, because we all know characters nowadays, they all get their own novel of abilities, I'm going to go ahead and do it in the form of a voiceover for gameplay, and then I'll get into the rotation of how you play this guy. So let's go ahead and jump into the gameplay. So the first thing I want to talk about with Silver Centurion's kit is that, like Guillotine 2099 and Red Guardian, he will never land a crit, but instead he will place a shock debuff, in this case passive, while he is awakened. So you see at the top here, I have 3 shocks pop up in a row that all would have been crits, but instead are shock debuffs. The next debuff he places is an Incinerate. You simply place this by ending your 5-hit combo with a light attack. Think of it like Nick Fury. When you end your combo with a light attack, you place the bleed. Same thing here. And you will notice as well that this Incinerate is an actual debuff and not passive, because his Awakened ability only converts shocks and plasmas into passive ones. Now let's break down how this guy is like Archangel, like I alluded to in the thumbnail, and it involves converting his shocks along with his Incinerates into a plasma, similar to how Archangel converts a bleed and a poison into a neurotoxin. So the way that Silver Centurion does this is by inflicting a shock or an Incinerate into an already incinerated or shocked opponent. So it has to be one or the other. If you're placing the shock, if there's already Incinerate there, it'll convert. If there's already an Incinerate and you place a shock, it will also convert. So it's not one way like it is with Archangel. It has to be a poison, then you place a bleed. It's either way. So you'll notice whenever I end my combo with a light attack, when there's already a shock, it will convert into a plasma passive because he's awakened. And then as you can see in this clip, he is already incinerated, and when I land a shock, it immediately converts right into a plasma. And also, if you'll notice, if you pay attention to the last hit of this combo where I end with a light attack, it also lands a crit, so places a shock and the Incinerate, but instantly converts it into a plasma. So that was kind of a cool thing that I noticed in my testing with this character that I didn't see anywhere in the kit. He also places a heal block on the special one, and it will be an active heal block if there is no regen currently on the opponent, or if you throw a special attack into an opponent that is already regenning, it will turn into a passive one, which is a pretty cool piece of utility for certain node scenarios. And if all those debuffs aren't enough for you, he still has 2 more. The first of which is a power drain debuff that comes from his special 3. The special 3 power drain will drain 1 bar of power, which increases by 25% of a bar of power for each plasma active. This one currently I used with no plasma, so you can see it's only going to do a single bar. It's going down pretty slowly, as you can see there. And in the next clip, you'll see I have now 10 that I'm about to place. There's the 10th one. I'm going to throw my special, and you'll see how much quicker the power drains. And I keep him locked down at 0 power and get off about 4, would have been 5 combos, but he dies before I'm able to finish the clip. So pretty awesome power control. Look how quickly that power just disappeared. It's a nice kind of power control ability if you really need it in a fight. You can really lock him down. Here I get to about 1.5 bars here before that power drain even ran out pretty much. So that is pretty sweet power control. And the last debuff that Silver Centurion places is the slow debuff, which like all slows prevents evade and unstoppable from working 100% unless he is at a class disadvantage. That will be the only exception where it will not work. He places this slow by either using a heavy attack, which will last for 10 seconds, or a special 3, which will last for 28 seconds. Now that we've discussed all of his debuffs he places, let's talk about his immunities. He does have 2 as long as his armor up is active, and those 2 are bleed and shock. And you'll notice at the start of this fight against Juggernaut, it will pop up and say immune, and it also brought the Nick Fury and Deadpool synergy, which makes him shrug off the poison other debuff from the Suicide Mastery. So that is a good combo way to get rid of those at the start of a fight if you are running those masteries. Now let's talk about Silver Centurion's lock-on ability. You'll see at the top left that gray circle started at 12 and gradually is counting down. As you are close to the opponent, it will go down. If you back away, then it will continue to go back up, and you need to get closer to the opponent and so it can keep going down. Once it gets to 0, it will turn yellow, which means lock-on is ready, which you can activate by throwing a special attack, as you see right there. The other way you can activate this is by throwing a special 3 at any time. It doesn't matter if that lock-on is ready, if the countdown is still going down, it'll activate lock-on instantly. Now you can see right here, I just refreshed the lock-on by using the special 1, and you can also see now that as I am still close to Winter Soldier in this fight, timer is paused. Now that I've backed away here, it is continuing counting down. But if I keep spamming my special 1, I can keep refreshing that as long as I can keep it up. And that is the key to playing this guy, where I was saying earlier, you want to play really aggressive if you can. Keep that up as long as possible because you get a lot of benefits from having lock on. One of those benefits we've already discussed earlier in the video, and that is the increased block proficiency, but also whenever you land a second medium attack, you will do a direct damage based on how many of those plasmas you have, which we will get into in a second of how to stack those up and get the ideal amount. Let me go ahead and rewind this clip just a little bit so you can see the second medium attack damage in action. So you'll notice I have 7 plasmas, which means I'm going to a percentage of direct damage based on each one of those, and that stacks up. So you'll see when I end with my second medium right there, I do a 10,500 direct damage, and you can just see how much the damage on the right is there in all the red numbers. Big red numbers. It is very nice to see. Also, the plasmas are paused while I am locked on, so they will never fall off until locked on falls off. So as long as I can keep refreshing it with the special 1, those will be there forever, and I will do that 10,000 damage no matter what, except for right there when I got hit by the end of the special 2. So we've talked about the special 1 and we've talked about the special 3. Now let's talk about the special 2, which is where a lot of the damage for Silver Centurion is coming from. So when you activate the special 2, if you're activating lock-on when using it, it will refresh the timer of all of the plasmas. So while the special 1 refreshes lock-on, the special 2 refreshes all of your plasma debuffs, or passives in this case. The second part of the special 2 says while you are in lock-on, if the opponent has 5 or more plasmas on them at the time, the last hit of the special 2 will deal a burst of damage based on how many plasmas are active. So if I slow this clip down, you'll see I have 7 plasmas active. I'm in lock-on with the green in the top left. I use my special 2. You'll see the very last hit of this is going to trigger right there 37,000 damage, and again that is based on how many plasmas are active on the opponent. Now when you are below 5 plasmas, and you activate your special 2, you will gain 3 plasmas instead. So you see there, when I threw my special attack, I was at 4, and then I used the special 2 and I gained an additional 3 on the final hit. Alright, now that we have broken down all of Silver Centurion's abilities, let's go ahead and get down to his optimal rotation. I'm going up against a Domino mini-boss here. This was the first off-season war against his Domino on Rage. So first off, Rage, really good option for Silver Centurion. He will never crit, so you're never going to be at risk of triggering that rage. So what I'm trying to do to start out this fight is I want to end all my combos with my light attack, so I'm getting the conversion. Also, I'm trying to stay as close as I can to this domino so that my lock-on timer gets down to 0 so that I can activate my lock-on. You can see here I kind of got a little over anxious triggering the evade there. She didn't counter me, luckily. I also didn't think to use my heavy attack for some reason and trigger my slow. Wouldn't have made that an issue, but here we go. We're finally about to get our lock on. I'm hitting into her block, and I don't know, she throws a special attack, so I was a little thrown off there. Either way, we're ready to go with our lock on. We've got one plasma. We didn't get a shock there, so we activate lock on. So now is when we switch over to using a medium attack or ending the combo with a medium attack, so we get that burst damage. We've got 4 plasma, so it's not ideal, but it still is a good amount to get this fight down. You can see she's just about done, and down she goes. These next few fights are showcased from last month's event quest, where when a tech attacker places a shock on the defender, they gain an indefinite fury buff, so pretty ideal node for Silver Centurion. You'll see these fights go by really fast. I'm doing my best to stay close to them so I can activate my lock-on. I'm ending my combo with a light attack prior to being in lock-on so that I get those plasma conversions. Now I have lock-on ready. His health is already 50% down, 60%. I get to go to the special 2 here in a second. I don't know why I didn't throw it right there. Could have done it, but it would have been fine. Doesn't matter. Now I throw my special attack and he's dead. So yeah, he absolutely shredded through this entire quest for me last month with this node. So I'll go ahead and play another clip here where it's against the Sorcerer Supreme, and I basically do the same thing. This entire path, almost this entire quest, took about the same amount of hits, doing the exact same combo, ending with a light attack to start, get to my special 2, and then the fights are over. So I'll go ahead and let this one play out, and then I'll get back to you in the next one. So that's how he works with some of those shorter fights. Let's go back to the Winter Soldier fight, which is a more lengthy one, and the rotation changes just a little bit. So it starts out the same. I'm trying to stay as close as I can, being aggressive, ending with a light combo, trying to stack those plasmas as much as possible. Well, not as much as possible. Ideally, I want to activate my lock-on when I have 4, because now I'm below 5, so that means I get an additional 3. The reason I don't want to activate it with 5 is because once lock-on is active and you have 5 or more plasmas, you cannot gain any more than 5. Whereas when I activate it at 4, I will gain that additional 3. And the benefit of this is when I end my medium combo, with a medium while in lock-on, I'm dealing more damage because I have 7 plasmas as opposed to only 5. So that is why I end my combo that way rather than trying to get the 5 and get the burst, which the burst damage you get from the special 2 is nice while in lock-on based off the plasmas. But if you can constantly be refreshing lock-on with special 1 and ending your combos with the medium attack while you are in lock-on, it is going to do a lot more damage over time, as long as you stay aggressive and keep that lock-on refreshing with the special 1. So that's going to do it, guys, for my Silver Centurion breakdown. I hope you guys were surprised by some of the things I pointed out in this video. I think he is definitely one of the more underrated characters, at least that's came out in 2021, but overall the whole game, he's pretty underrated in my opinion. Not many people talking about this guy, and I think he's got a definite place in this game. I didn't do any like Act 7 or Act 6 fights in this just because I didn't want to burn a ton of energy because I'm not made of energy and units. I could go on the CCP, I guess, and try to test some stuff there. So maybe that can make for some more videos. If you guys have any suggestions you'd like to see me try him out on, let me know down below in the description. Also guys, if you did enjoy this video breakdown, I don't do many like this where I put in a ton of effort. This took a lot of time to put together, a lot of editing. So if you guys would, I'd really appreciate hitting that like button, sharing it around to some people in your alliance that maybe just pulled the Silver Centurion and were like, gosh dang it, I got a terrible champion. Well, maybe this video might change their mind. If not for anything else, he's good for prestige. So if you're looking for that, there you go. But that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.